Hey there, this is Frank Klesitz and with Viral Marketing. And I'm going to do a quick interview today with Kati. She's on the North Shore of Chicago, and she enrolled in our recruiting project at the time, a 6-month project where we meet in a small group on Zoom, which is a video conferencing program, actually what we're using to record right now. In a small group of about 8 agents that are all looking to do the same thing once a week for an hour. And as of this time, I have 24 lessons. 24 steps to take, little bite-sized steps, because we all have jobs and things we have to get done during the day. We unfortunately can't put all of our focus on this right at 100% because many of us and you have to still sell homes. But we meet for an hour every single week with a lesson, and there's a small assignment. And then you also meet one-on-one that week with John in my office, who's my business partner, to kind of personalize the material and get it implemented throughout our office. So there's a unique blend of it's like a semester-based project / group meeting every single week with a one-on-one call / implementation. It's a very unique model, but it's working. And that's what I want to talk to Kati about. So Kati, say hi.
Hi. Thanks for having me, Frank.
Yeah. So why don't we just step back to why you even decided, I think you got an email from me or you got a letter from me about this project. Tell me about what sparked your interest in it and why you signed up.
Yeah, I've been recruiting for my team for about 2.5 years. That's kind of when I made the jump to really make more of an effort to recruit. Learned more how to hire, made some mistakes, and really decided I need to talk more to people. So I spent about 2 years doing that, and it was pretty unsuccessful. Nobody was coming in on the ads that I was placing. And if they were, it was very, very difficult to find people to be agents. We're in a higher end market. And so, the mentality of the agents in this market as well, it wasn't as easy to lure them to my team necessarily. And so I actually got one of your letters is what it was. I was a viral client, but I got one of the letters and we were actually 2 weeks late when I opened it, and I handed it to my director of operations. I said, "We're doing this." And she was like, "Okay, what is this?" I said, "I have no idea, but I've got to figure something else out." So that was the beginning of the year. Yeah.
Well, so everyone listening to this, direct mail works to the right list, doesn't it?
To the right
and
list,
it was a
for
long
sure.
letter. It was 3 pages.
Yeah, and actually it's so funny because I have something else that just came through from you, and I kept it because it was from you, because it's targeted.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely.
So you decided to sign up. Well, initially, tell me some of the things that you enjoyed, how the course was structured well, or what you enjoyed about it. Why did this seem to work well and so many other things didn't, let's say?
Because you really changed my mindset in talking to me about how I was going to be a coach and a leader, and people wanted to come work for me. And I actually had something valuable and important to tell people. And so I'd never done Zoom before. I didn't even know what it was until you sent the invitation. And I was nervous. I thought, this is really weird, like going online and seeing people. And you were great. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. I was like, oh, well, Frank's not going to be, teaching us one-on-one. But then there you were, you're like, "Hey, Kati, how's it going?" And it was a great interactive class. I felt like the people on the call were good too. And it was really, I felt like and I told you this the other day, it's a turning point in my career, actually, and I know that sounds like maybe over the top, but truly, I mean, and you can use this, is that it really was one of the turning points of my career, was joining this class.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So that sounds like a pretty big step. So
it is. Yeah.
We repositioned hiring as opposed to like just running like a job ad and saying, "Come work for me," and maybe just kind of running this like loose referral business where you have some lead you throw to some contractor that may or may not work on your team.
Right.
And to turn it into like a well-functioning machine. We talked about how you have to step up to become a trainer and a leader, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So one of the first steps of the course, I remember with you when you emailed me, so excited, is that was your first training event.
Yeah.
Is what we teach in the course is a 3-hour business planning clinic where you invite agents to come in, and in 3 hours you teach them basically how to write a simple 1-page business plan. Just what they're going to do for lead gen, conversion, appointments, onboarding, delivering the service, asking for referrals type of customer lifecycle process. You had 25 local agents show up. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. And 3 are going to be on my team, or 5 are going to be on my team.
That's awesome.
From one 3-hour event that I had free at the library.
How much outbound prospecting did you have to do to get people to that event?
Not a ton, actually. Really not much at all. I was going into, I think I actually emailed you and John the first response that I got where somebody actually signed up.
Yeah.
And then from there, we just were doing everything that you said to do, and people were signing up, and we sold out. I mean, we sold out. We couldn't take any more people in the room.
That's great.
Yeah.
And just to give the audience some reference, I mean, how many homes did you sell last year?
77.
That's really good. I think I say in the course, you do more than 9. You have the authority to teach because you're more than average.
Yeah.
Medium. Mm-hmm.
And that was one thing that you really helped teach me, is that, I do have something that people wanted to hear. And when it was positioned correctly, they came and they listened. And it was great because I attracted people who were like me or who valued what I was doing, which was even better. It was a group of people that were already there who liked, what I was providing.
Yeah, they liked kind of your approach to business. They liked you. What you stood for.
Yeah.
So then when the interviews came up, it was probably pretty easy.
Yeah. That. Oh, totally. Very, very easy. For sure.
So you did your event. And this is, by the way, this event's in context, the publishing videos and doing online marketing to drive people there. But it all drives to an event. You spoke for how long? How much time did you have? I think you said
you told us to have 3 hours. And I was like, there is no way people are going to sit here for 3 hours.
Not enough.
No. And so I said, well, let's just do 2. I thought 1 at first. And then I said, well, let's just do 2. And we needed the full 3. So we're having one this Thursday, and we've got the full 3 hours booked for sure.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Full 3 hours. So you have another one this Thursday. So how many people are coming to that?
Right now we have about 20 people signed up. And we're actually hosting it at one of our empty high-end listings. So it's a great win-win for everybody, and they'll come and they'll see the house.
And no charge for you.
No charge. I've got a mortgage broker sponsoring it.
We're talking about that in the course.
Yeah. So it's free for me. And it's, and all these people actually are agents that there's very few agents that I actually know coming, meaning that they are just from different ways, Facebook, outbound, emails, things like that. So all new people.
How cool is that?
Yeah. All new people.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So 5 people from the last workshop or clinic or whatever, and then you're going to get some more from this one.
Yeah, we'll see. Honestly, I feel like with this model, I can even be even more selective, and really see who gravitates towards me and my team and the way I function and my culture.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So, these aren't really bait and switches. I mean, you are doing an event,
right?
You really are training and helping, for free.
Yeah.
How in the world did these conversations move toward people wanting to join your team? How did that happen?
It was exactly like you said was going to happen. I mean, you have them sign up for a one-on-one business planning session. And so I invited a few agents that I knew were probably good fits for my team. Mm-hmm. And then 2 of the agents, they actually work as their own team. And they were like, well, we just don't, after the session, they were like, well, we just don't know, why we're not doing better. Like, what's going on? I said, you know what, if you give me an hour of your time, I will be able to tell you. And at that moment, I wasn't sure whether or not they'd want to be on my team. And it was an exploratory meeting. So I was able to have this hour session with them. And at the end of the session, I said, you 2 are made for a team. And so I was able to get to know them a little bit and then broach the subject. And honestly, it just took off from there, because once we kind of talked about it, and there have been a couple people that I had a session with them, like, these people are not right for a team or my team, but that's okay because I provided the information. It was a great networking experience. They'll, pass my name along to other people that they run into, which has actually happened already. So it's a natural progression, I feel like.
So with minimal outbound calling or prospecting, we drove 25 people to an event. How many of those people took a one-on-one meeting with you afterwards?
I would say I had the 5 that are on board, and then I had an additional, I think 3
Wow. So it's 8 solid
Yeah, 8
recruiting
solid.
appointments, essentially,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
at
In a
5 a.m.
matter of like 3 weeks. Yeah,
That's
for
great.
sure. I know,
Yeah.
it's great.
And now you have your next one. And how nice is it knowing that you just get to repeat the same event over and over and over?
Yes. And it was so great because I followed your business plan model and your ideas, and I actually really, it made me sit down and take the time to really figure out what made me successful. And it was such a great experience for me to do, to now have this course that I can actually also continue to teach to my team members. So it was all the way around fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good. You're good. All right. So tell me more about maybe how the course is structured. You've been through many, I don't want to say this is a coaching program. It really isn't. I mean, what I have here at Viral is we're an advertising agency. This is just very structured premium account management to help get the darn marketing done, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the world that we all run in, there's coaching and training companies and whatnot. And I guess you could compare it in some respects to that, which I wouldn't, because it's just an advertising agency helping you get the marketing done.
Mm-hmm.
But what did you like about how the course was structured? And how is that unique to other things that you've done? I mean, how would you say this course or this project is different than any other program that you've been involved in the past?
Well, first of all, the video Zoom calls. I'd never done that before, and I wasn't quite sure how that was going to work, and I loved it. And I was there. I mean, I was there for 6 months. I think I only missed 3 total calls in 6 months. And
But you got the replay.
right. And so it was great because I felt super committed. And I felt committed to you. Like, I felt like you would know if I wasn't there. And
Yeah.
I mean, you have to put forth the effort. You have to, you can't just sign up and be like, oh, I'm just going to listen. You really have to put forth the effort, and you have to make the mind shifts switch. And it was like we were coaching with you, not coaching, but it was like teaching one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would say, hey, how's it going? And to watch you build this was really great for me to see as well as a business person. It was just really interactive, and I felt very committed. I felt like I knew the other people who were on the call. And it just built my community as well. So it was a little bit different than having to go somewhere every single week, or just listening in on a coaching call where you're not interactive. It was
That's where I kept them small, only 8 people, as opposed to throwing 100 people on there,
Yeah. And so it felt small. It absolutely felt small.
Good.
For sure. Yeah.
So before you get to the workshop part of the material, people are going to come to your workshop if they know who you are and like you over time. And you're lucky. You're getting some quick hits now with really not having to publish too much video necessarily, because people will just come to your event right now. But you do have some really good stuff up here. Let me see if I can actually pull up your website. It's Real Estate Grit, right? You knew I was going to pull it up, right?
Realestategrit.net. Yeah.
So we started realestategrit.net.
Mm-hmm.
And this is and I say this in the course, I don't like calling it the recruiting blog. It's your agent training, website that happens to attract people to you. But check this out. There you are speaking, right?
Yeah.
Our mission on this site is to educate real estate agents how to sell more homes. So it tells me exactly what the whole point of the site is, not to get confused with helping people buy or sell homes. Get your call to actions here on the right. Subscribe to your free newsletter. Come to your real estate workshop. That's what you did.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, it's the same single event over and over and over that you do. It's a very candid, scripted, if you will, very standardized event. There's your one-on-one call. You get them to after the event, and then to join your team. Then you have all of your great educational videos over here. So tell me about the process of getting this website built and building this whole funnel we put together here for you. What were some of the highs and lows of putting all this together for us?
It was great because you guys took care of everything. I feel like I'm just a walking commercial for you today, Frank. Is that, working with John was great. And your team is fantastic. I mean, I do your regular viral marketing, so I was somewhat familiar with that. Honestly, getting in front of the video for the first time, it was hard. I mean, it's gotten so much better. I think you just have to put yourself out there, and then So what we do is you would say, okay, this is what you need to do. And then John would say, okay, this is what we're doing. And then it would be done. So there was very few, like, we didn't have to do a lot. I had my designer design my logo, and we had to provide some pictures, and of course the video. But other than that, you guys really took care of everything. So it was pretty seamless.
Yeah. And now you have your own coaching and training website, right? So one of the things we talk about in the course is, your job is just to build an audience of real estate agents. Mm-hmm. By publishing educational videos and by driving people to events. That should seem kind of familiar to anyone who's grown up in the real estate space. That's how training and coaching and stuff is sold to you, right?
Right.
We're applying that same exact model, except once someone has built trust with you, you can put several offers in front of them. One of the offers is to join my team. Mm-hmm. Katie, it wouldn't surprise me if you get a lot of people outside of Chicago that come to your events.
Well, you mentioned that before, and it's so funny because every time you'd mention something like, you're going to be a coach, I think every time I was like, what? And then like you said that in the training, people are going to come from outside of Chicago, and it's like, what? Or you also said, people are going to buy your stuff. And I was like, what? I mean, So we're not quite there yet, but you've put a lot of great thoughts into my mind that are helping me expand myself personally and grow my business. And, having all those videos as well helps my team, because it's now a resource for my team to go and watch these videos too.
Yeah. Katie, I have a challenge for you at this next
Okay.
Okay. I mean it.
Okay.
So you probably have a lot of documents that you use to run your business.
Yeah.
Generation forms, buyer forms, seller form, whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know how in the clinic we talk about buyer and seller lead generation? That's a folder. We have lead conversion. That's a folder. Presentations. That's a folder. Listing process is a folder. Transaction process is a folder. Post closing referral process is a folder. Even hiring and training is a folder. Like different categories on your blog. Mm-hmm. If you organize a Google Drive, a folder with all those things in there, put all those documents in there. Why don't you just try? Just throw the offer out to the marketplace. See what responds. At your event, say for $100, I'll give you access to my entire Google Drive.
Okay.
And see if anyone's interested.
Right. This is exactly how it goes. Is that you say something like, what?
Yeah, just throw it out there.
I think about it, and then I think about it. So I'm gonna think about it.
I just want you to think about it. Just throw the offer out to the marketplace.
Okay.
And see if hey, I organized all my stuff, all these nice folders. It's all named correctly. It's all in order.
All right.
And if you toss me $100, I will invite you into my Google Drive and you get lifetime access.
Okay.
I think every single person in that room will give you $100.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to think about that. So
well, because we also talked a little bit about getting some sponsorships, right? Because you already said you got a little money to help offset the cost of this.
Right.
Tell me about that. Tell me about how, if you're going out and building an audience of agents, how many other people want to be in front of that audience, and how maybe I opened your eyes a little bit of how you could zero cost a lot of the expenses to do this.
Yeah, actually, that's really something we haven't implemented yet. However, what you really did is, we got our database of the people who have acknowledged me, been to the events, my core group, and there's not a ton of people in there. But there's, right now we probably have about 100 agents that have interacted with me, the events that I've done. I mean, that's 100 agents that are doing business. Yeah. And so your conversation with me made me think, who else wants access to those agents? So right now we're in the process of trying to put together kind of a plan, a sponsorship plan, and what does that look like? Because those are all agents that it's not just a mass email list. These are people I'm having connections with. So
it sounds like a real database.
Yeah, it is definitely. So that is our next step is to really say, okay, we're bringing in money monthly from our sponsorship opportunities, because as you know, in real estate, your income is going up and down and up and down. And I think that would help me just stabilize more of my revenue coming in so that I can be more consistent with my expenses and things like that.
There's a second course I teach is how to raise money to zero cost your marketing just like this in a small group. And we're taking these agents through to raise $5,000 a month of sponsor money. Chris Waters, who's a client of ours, gets $25,000 a month.
Wow.
Many from businesses who are not on the settlement statement. I'm talking like financial advisors, attorneys, painters, plumbers, roofers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're looking for businesses that might want to work with you, that want to get in front of agents, there's a good list.
That's awesome. That's our next thing. And I think that's what I have on my desk that you sent me to sign up for, which I will be there. Not maybe this next time, but the following.
Well, you're coming down to see me here in 2 weeks, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah,
I am.
it's going to be fun.
Very excited. Very excited.
So this has been one of the biggest changes in your business. Life changes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you.
What was your previous biggest life change in your business? What was your past biggest shift that you made that really made a huge difference in your life before focusing on, instead of being an agent, training and leading agents?
So I've had my license about 6 years. And I was at a typical brokerage for about 3.5 years. And I moved to Keller Williams. And that was one of the most monumental shifts I've made, and read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. So I'd been in the business for that long. And my conversation was, can I really make $1 million selling real estate? Because up until that point, I hadn't really believed that was possible. I hadn't known anybody who had that done. So that was a huge shift for me. And I would say getting one of my amazing coaches about 1.5 years ago, a very, very well-known coach who opened my eyes to some amazing possibilities, was one of my other shifts. It kind of took me in another trajectory. And then honestly, your class, I mean, it may be simple, but would I go back and sign up for this again, knowing what I know? I mean, there's no question at all, because it has taken my career in a different direction than I would ever have thought of. And just opening my mind to the possibilities. Now, not everybody is going to do the work, and that's the thing, is that I know myself, and I knew that I was going to do the work if I committed to it. And I did. And I would go back and do it 100 times over again, for sure. No question.
So yeah. It sounds like there were 3 steps. First was just, you got into real estate and just sold some houses as a single salesperson agent. Right. Then you started to treat the profession as a business. But that was the Keller Williams jump with the $1 million real estate agent plan, leads, listings, and leverage. And then you made the next biggest shift, is I'm no longer a real estate agent identity-wise. I say at the very beginning of the course is I'm going to change all your identities to become leaders and trainers of agents and no longer an agent. Right. And that was one of the big shifts that you did, right?
It was, absolutely. And I think just being able to connect with you and have those conversations with you while we were still in a group, and you're on the other side of the country, it allowed me to take my mindset to a different level that I would never have had without having this course, for sure, and getting to know you and just the opportunities that you provided, and watching how you work and your
Well, I pulled up the copywriter. You watched me write it.
I know.
The process, yeah.
I did.
What's cool about it is I want you guys to see a little bit of the creative process of how a lot of this stuff is done, so we do it in real time in class. Katie, this technology of Zoom and Google Hangouts wasn't even available 4 years ago?
I believe it. I mean, I didn't even use it. Yeah. Yeah. So I use Zoom all the time now. I mean, truly, because I see how powerful it was for us.
Yeah. So here's my next question. So 77 homes. Can you give me an idea of GCI, your sales price? I want to give people an idea of where you are in your business. So when you started with us, 77 homes, what's generally the GCI of that in your market?
Last year it was 37 million. So we're a little higher.
37 million volume.
Yeah, 37 million in volume. So, this year, and just to put in perspective, is that last year, that was pretty much all me. I didn't really I had a couple of agents in and out of the team. I didn't have really anybody who was selling anything last year. So maybe 10 transactions were my team. The rest was me.
It was pretty much all you and someone.
It was all me. Yeah. And this year, we are right now currently at 38 million closed and pending for this year alone.
Already halfway through.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping we're going to hit 50 million, over 100 transactions. So my goal was 100 listings. And then let's see what the buyer agents. So our GCI last year was like $1.1 million, $1.2 million, I think.
That's great. Okay. So $1.1 million last year. It's pretty much you producing all of that with some assistance. And maybe you have like 1 or 2 loose agents that you threw some deals to. Sounds like. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I want to see kind of where you were at your business stage for you to actually successfully pull off this course.
Okay.
Right.
Got it.
So why don't you tell somebody who's watching this that maybe only doing 250,000 GCI, maybe they're in a different market, they're in a luxury market, maybe they have a huge team. Like, when do you think is the right time for somebody to pull the trigger on this project with me based upon where they're at in their business?
You know, that's a really good question. I have a director of operations. So, and it took me a while to find somebody really strong, really bright. So she took the course with me, and it was very helpful to have somebody else there. Now, you don't have to, I don't think you have to have a full director of operations, but it allowed me to kind of mull on the ideas that we had during class with somebody else. And also some of the logistics of getting the classes done, you know, the business planning session, the coordination, because I am not an admin at all. So booking the rooms, you know, just things like that, printing out the papers we were going to give to people. So I think that you have to understand that you failed already, maybe. Like you have to know that this is hard to do, because I don't know.
So you have to be failing at recruiting. So how long were you failing at hiring agents?
2 years, at least 2 years.
So anyone watching this has to go fail for 2 years.
No, I don't think you have to have failed for that long. I think that you have to acknowledge that there might be another way. Like, you know, I know, and you know, is that you can't just put an ad out there and expect people to, it's not like a normal ad, you know, for an admin or transaction coordinator. People don't just show up, and you have to know that. I think you have to know that this is more than that. So it could be kind of at any stage if they're evolved enough to know that this is hard to do. Like, you have to know this is hard to do, to recruit.
No, it's true. Yeah, people usually don't take marketing seriously until they get their, I don't know what the face punched. What did Mike Tyson say? Like, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah,
something like that.
And that's how I was feeling. That's how I was feeling. You got to
go out and do all the hard prospecting to see the value of making your videos and seeing the value of spending the money on marketing. Okay, good.
Right. Okay.
You also said a director of operations. That's interesting. I haven't heard that very often. Usually I hear like an administrative assistant, or I hear just like a support person.
Yeah.
You said director of operations.
Yeah.
Why that title? I mean, tell me about this person.
So she did not come out of real estate. She has 18 years of experience in the corporate world, VP of sales and marketing. And, you know, I knew her. I've tried hiring. I've done everything the typical agent would do as they're on their path to be the millionaire real estate agent. Had people come and go, and knew her from around, and was like, she is bright, she is smart, she's talented, and really worked with her to make this a position that was exciting for her, not financially, because I mean, you don't necessarily have the same type of money to spend that she was making coming out of the corporate world. So she
a lot more enjoyment and flexibility and freedom working for a small team.
Exactly. And I think it's very exciting for her. But what I really had to find was somebody really bright who pushed me, who challenged me, who was like at my level. So I will tell you is that she doesn't just say like if I have an idea and I come in and I'm like, okay, here's our idea, this is what we're going to do. She will push me if she thinks it's not a good idea. And as a leader, you have to be able to listen. Like, you can't just, you know, get defensive. And so I have to say, okay, I'm going to listen to this. And then she keeps pushing me because she wants me to really think about it in another direction. And sometimes I'm like, nope, this is the way we're doing it. But sometimes I'm like, yep, you're right. Let's go that way. So having that director of operations for me allows me the ability to have these meetings that I'm having.
And you brought her on all the calls.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She was there for everything. She was there for everything. So I didn't have to teach her anything. She was right there with me learning. But it's having somebody really smart. And what I've realized over a few years is sometimes finding that smart person isn't necessarily somebody who has no experience. You might have to find somebody who has more experience, and you might have to pay them a little bit more.
Sure.
That's where I've been.
How'd you find her?
You know, she is the mother of a child of one of my daughter's classes. And we've known each other we've known each other, and I'm going to tell this story, and I know she's going to be like, oh my gosh. So I've known her for like 10 years, and we were on our Washington, D.C. trip with our 8th grade girls, and she was sort of running the event, and we had some conflict going on, and she was like a master at handling this conflict on a trip. And I was like, wow, she's a really, really good leader. And I started to really just kind of question her, what are you doing? And it just sort of evolved over that. But that was my first, like, I needed to keep an eye out for people who, in different situations, who might be a really good fit. And we work really well together too. So it's a great connection and funny story. So
good.
Yeah.
It usually is the close relationships that you find of someone coming to work for you. What's also, I will share this too. Our two top salespeople that work here at Viral, preschool teachers.
Really? Wow.
Very, very clear and simple and explain the program.
I can see that.
I was like, we should get a children's book to explain what we do.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I can see that.
So tell me, what was the most difficult part of the course for you that challenged you the most? What was the most difficult lesson that was like, oh, this is the worst?
You know what? It was really getting on video. And because I'm a Viral client anyway, I had only had a couple of months prior to doing the coaching videos. So it wasn't like I've been doing the videos for a year with you in the marketing. So it was kind of in conjunction. And the biggest challenge was for me is that I was trying to tape my videos with other people around me. And
so you feel a little...
So I would be like, oh, how was that? You know? And so it changed when I went to my home office and I sat there and just sort of, it's kind of weird, connected with my computer, you know, and just really was able to talk from the heart. And I realized that once I did that, I became more authentic. And that was the biggest challenge for me, which is probably one of the biggest challenges for everybody, I would think, is really getting on video. But once I was able to make that connection on the video, I felt like, now I got it. I felt like it was like, yep, now I can just sit down and do a video. You know, the other day I just sat down, I was like, oh, I got this idea.
Good.
You know, I felt like, yep, I'm just sitting in my home office and I'm going. So that was definitely the challenge.
Your success is going to take off. Like talk about success is something you attract by the person you become. It's an old Jim Rohn quote. You start off, oh my gosh, I had to pick up the phone and actually call somebody. Right. And then it's like, oh my gosh, I actually have to close for an appointment. Oh my gosh, I have to go on a listing presentation. Oh my gosh, now I have to, maybe I have to, do a small group meeting. Now I have to hire people. It's like, it never stops,
Right. It never stops. It never stops.
And what you find is you're going up the scale of communication where you go from like one-to-one in-person meetings to on the phone. And ultimately you've now scaled to the highest level of communication as far as what all business owners do is they're writing, they're speaking, they're making videos, right? They're in charge of the message, and they have all their people under them helping repeat the message one-to-one, because you can scale a message. You can't scale a relationship.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
That's great.
For sure.
What was the most enjoyable part? What was like, oh, I love this lesson. This is good. Remember? Is there any class that really stood out like that really impacted you, or you really enjoyed it?
No, I think I really loved talking about and watching when everybody started to do the work.
Oh, that's always interesting, isn't it?
And to see that it was working for everybody was putting in the time and effort, of course, but to really say, oh my gosh, this is working for all of us. And to see how excited they were, that was really, and for me to be able to say, you know, this is what happened. Oh my gosh, you know, and that was probably the most fun for me. That was the most fun for me. And it was, you know, a culmination of 4 months probably before it was like, you kept learning and trying and doing. And I'm like, okay, I'm just doing what Frank says. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Okay, I'm just doing what he says. And it did. And all of a sudden it just clicked. And we just sort of took off. And I think the other people in the call too, I would say probably as well. That was my most
Trust
fun.
me, I'm just as nervous as you when the class shows up. I'm like, all right, guys, you all got that email out. Do we have any results?
Right. I
I'm
know.
sitting there like this.
I know.
And I hear something positive. I'm like, oh, that's good news.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
So that's probably the best.
All right. So I don't think maybe I got a clear answer to this question. I want to ask you one more time, maybe a little more clarity. When is basically $1 million GCI, 77 deals, you had a director of operations. Is there anything else someone needs to know to know when they're ready to make this commitment? And I'll follow that up with what was the time investment it took with these little bits and pieces throughout the week. So let's have this. I want to talk a little more about how does someone know, like, I can actually do this now in my business, besides operations manager and where kind of you were as far as money-wise when you started this?
I think you have to have an admin of some sort. I do, just because there are little things that will be missed. We didn't have to do a lot. I mean, the call was an hour a week. So you have to be able to put that into your calendar. And if you can't time block that, I mean, I found that when I missed a call and I had to watch it on replay, it was not as strong for me. And I put it off, you know, so you have to be able to commit that time. I think it's going to be, I mean, I think you could do it by yourself, but the problem is that once you kind of become successful, you are meeting with people. You know, you are in a lot of meetings. And so if you don't have that support, I don't think you necessarily need an agent yet on your team. I mean, you could. I think it's that support that you really need, though. So somebody who feels like they're ready to go to the next level and they administratively have their team functioning probably at a pretty good level with their listings. I'm the only listing agent, so of course I have to continue on that. So I think that's probably it, is having that admin and just knowing that, okay, I'm going to commit. You have to be mentally in. You have to be like, I'm ready to do this, and I'm going to listen to what Frank says.
You
and I
showed
was.
up and you spoke and you talked to me on the meetings. I was very impressed. All right.
Well, I talk a lot, yeah.
So let's talk about the money. So I charge $6,000, at least as of this recording.
Yeah, right.
$6,000 for the course.
Yeah.
Right? Plus you were also a client, so you're paying the $550 a month, which is no small change.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. How do you justify the price?
This is a setup question.
No,
honestly,
how did you justify it?
How did I justify it?
Yeah, how'd you say, yeah, okay, $6,000?
Well, let's put it this way. So my husband is sort of my business partner. I mean, as you know, in the real estate industry, you have a lot of husband and wives who talk about, you know, expenses, things like that. And I made the decision on a spur of the moment, because I got that letter. You were already 2 weeks into the course when I opened it. And so I knew I had to get on right away. And so we had to pay $3,000, I think, in the first month.
And then $550 a month.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was what was hard to tell my husband. And I said, this, I really believe is worth it. I do. I think it's really, really worth it. And I really thought if I just get one agent out of this, it's going to be worth it. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've tried so many other things. Like, this has got to work. You know, he's not just going to make this up that this is working. And so right now, looking back on it, it's absolutely worth the $6,000. No question in my mind at all whatsoever.
So why me though? You were only a client for what, three months? Why me? Why did you choose us to guide you through the recruiting stuff when there's no lack of other people that can do it?
You know what? Because I really feel like I loved your systems and your processes. Everything is a system with every product that you have. I really liked listening to you on your podcasts. And I felt like had been listening to you for a long time, like over a year before I even knew you.
Cool.
And so I felt like I loved the questions that you asked on the podcast. I thought you did not push your product at all. I feel very comfortable with how you marketed it to me. You were very upfront. This is what you pay. This is what you get, and you can cancel at any time with the viral marketing. And so I mean, I feel like you're very high intensity, and sometimes Frank and I would get off the calls and we'd be like, wow, Frank is like, he's going to town today. I mean,
on the weekly meetings.
Yeah. And
you guys everyone, it's so funny. When you're an instructor, you probably sense this in the room. You're just like, hello.
Right.
Get you guys excited. Stand up. Let's do some Tony Robbins energy yells or something.
It was funny. And so I valued what you've built as a company. And so that for me helped a lot. And I was a photographer and a marketing and graphic design firm before I started in real estate. So I'm very aware of when I marketed to and what I see. And so I feel like you're a marketing genius. I really, truly, like, I get that in people. And so I connected with that a lot, that I just appreciated that. So I knew that there was a system and a process, and the way that you laid it out, I knew that if I wasn't happy, I could call you and be like, hey, Frank, I'm not happy with this. And you would have an honest conversation with me. So I think it was more about your systems, your processes, and you just being authentic and wanting to help people is what I really, really felt like. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Sure.
And a lot of that goes right back to what you said is what I want you to be able to create in your marketing for people.
That's true.
Yeah. Good. All right. Man, I think I've asked every question somebody would want to know about the course.
I know.
Why don't I leave with this? What's next for you? So I gave you a solid foundation to build something pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
Right. What's your vision where this is going to head over the next couple of years?
It's so funny. So I had somebody ask me the other day, what are my goals for the future? And 2 years ago, my goals were, 250 transactions and all this. And I said, it is all dependent upon the people that I bring in. So I no longer can make these goals without having those right people. And I feel right now, like I have the ability to find the right people, and therefore any goals that I have are high. So far, like, I can do anything that I want to do. I just have to find the right people. And now I know how to find the right people. So for me, sky's the limit. That's how I feel. That's what I think. That's just kind of who I am, whether or not, that's true. That's just kind of what gets me up in the morning. And so I have a lot of big goals. I mean, basically be, the number one team in Illinois. Just really doing a great job, high customer service. We are in an affluent market here, so we have to provide a very high level of customer service. So I really feel like we can be the best at what we do. And right now with this, I feel like we can do it. I will tell you, 8 months ago, I was like, I don't know how this is going to work. Like, I don't know how I can find the people to go to the next level. And now I do. So did I answer your question?
That's a great answer to the question.
Good.
All right, Katie, thank you so much for sharing all this. I think you can probably relate with a lot of people in your situation. Yeah. And, check out the course. So one of the things that I give everybody is a copy of the workbook, so you can actually go through and see everything that you have to do and how I have it organized. And anyone who's interested, I'll also send you the first 2 classes. So the replays of the previous first 2 classes, so you kind of get a feel of like what it's actually like to be on a Zoom meeting and what it's like to show up every single day. And kind of how I run the classes. So if anyone's interested in checking those out, just reach out to us and I'll send you that stuff to review if you like the project. With that, check out realestategrit.net. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
Realestategrit.net.
Anyone wants to reach out to me, feel free. Kati at spaniakteam.com, KTI. So reach out. Awesome. I'm more than happy to talk about the course too.
Katie, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You got it.